The Chances. We're going to look at this poem by Wilfred Owen. We're going to learn about dramatic monologues and how poets use them to create tension and suspense. And we're going to learn what makes an effective ending to a poem. Read it through before you listen to my explanation. You need to have a go at working out what you think it's about. I wouldn't say this is one of his most difficult poems, so you really should have a go at working out more or less what's going on here. I mind as how the night afore that show us five got talking, we was in the know. Over the top tomorrow, boys, we're for it. First wave we are, first ruddy wave. That's tore it. Okay, so we're immediately in the trenches and we're hearing the voice of a British Tommy talking. That's a common soldier, a private soldier, not an officer. Owen, remember, was an officer and much higher class than most of the men he was in charge of. And the five of them talking, we was in the know. They'd learned the truth about what's going to happen in the battle tomorrow. And one of them says, over the top tomorrow, we're for it, first wave we are. So they are the first group of soldiers to go over the top of the trench, which you can see in the picture there, and first ruddy wave. So he says, ruddy is quite a powerful word in those terms, meaning bloody. This is the first bloody wave. That's tore it. We're for it, tore it. The good powerful rhyme there, emphasising the key idea that they're going to die or suffer some terrible fate. "Ah, well," says Jimmy, and he's seen some scrapping. There ain't more than nor 5 things as can happen. You get knocked out, else wounded, bad or cushy, scuppered, or nowt except you're feeling mushy. So 5 things could happen to you when you go over the top and the trenches. You can get knocked out, killed, or you could get wounded badly, or a cushy number, actually not too badly, and you just get taken out for war. So scuppered, and that means imprisoned, and a slang term for being imprisoned. Except you're feeling mushy, you're feeling pretty bad about it. Mushy, cushy, powerful rhymes there, and quite comic in a way. And I think this is what's really good about this poem. It expresses the horror of war, but you get a sense of the humour that was in the trenches as well. One of us got knocked out, blown to chops. T'other was hurt, like losing both his props. And one, to use the word of hypocrites, had the misfortune to be took by Fritz. So one got hurt, and one got blown to chops, in other words, completely blown up. One lost his props, his legs, and one, to use the word of hypocrites, had the misfortune to be took by Fritz. Misfortune, it's hypocritical to say it was a misfortune to be taken prisoner, because people were quite pleased to be taken prisoner because it means they wouldn't die and they wouldn't have to experience battle, and Fritz is a slang term for Germans. So now me, I wasn't scratched, praise almighty, though next time I'll thank him for a blighty. But poor old Jim, he's living and he's not. He reckoned he had 5 chances and he's had, else wounded, killed and prisoner, all the lot. The ruddy lot all rolled in one. Jim's mad. Jim, who'd been speaking earlier, has got the worst. He's completely, totally lost his mind. Here we have a picture of a man having electric shock treatment in order to stop his shell shock. People didn't know how to deal with shell shock in those days, and madness, as we've seen in a case, in other cases, was mental cases. Owen's poem, it was one of the worst things that could have happened.
Okay, we're going to look at dramatic monologues because this is a learning objective, and this poem is a classic dramatic monologue because it is a theatrical poem that's told by one person. A dramatic monologue is dramatic, it's theatrical, and it's a monologue. It's told by one person, mono meaning one, and it usually tells a story of some sort. This poem clearly tells a story of a few soldiers and what happened to them in war, and it's recounted by a soldier, isn't it? And it's very much the voice of a particular person that comes through, and I think it's quite interesting because this isn't your stereotypical soldier. I mean, he seems to be quite working class, and there are elements of it being comic, but I feel this is a sophisticated soldier, and I think the intelligence of a soldier comes through, and that's something that's quite unusual. Kipling, who was a very famous poet and writer at the time of the war and supported the war very strongly, wrote a lot of dramatic monologues, which are the stories of the British Tommy and told in this sort of voice, and often sort of celebrates how wonderful England was and the greatness of war. This poem does something very different. We've got the British Tommy, and it's a dramatic monologue, but we hear about the horror of war, and it has, as with many of Owen's poems, a devastating ending. Jim's mad, emphasising, tying up with a rhyme in that poem. It's like it's been told in the pub or the trenches. It has that immediacy, doesn't it? He's sort of deliberately put in a lot of slang. He's kind of dropped some consonants and put apostrophes there to create kind of sense of realism here. And the audience, on the one hand, is someone listening in the pub. It's also us, the reader of the poem.
Right, you need to have a go at answering these questions and then annotating the poem in your books, and then teach it to the person sitting next to you so you show you've understood it properly.